You know what? Seeing you in your car, Christine, reminds me of 2020 when it was the middle of the night, mid-February, and I get a phone call from my wife, and she goes, "We're out of here. We're on the run. We grabbed Christine. We're heading down the highway. We're out of here." And seeing you in the car, like that's what I visioned when you first like hopped on, because I was Vicky's text, or she Zoom called me, and you guys were on the road. I think in Shelly's truck, and you guys were out of here running from, the craziness of then Governor Brown.
I gotta say that was unique craziness, right? I mean, I didn't have a plan. I for I didn't know we were gonna do that night. I didn't know it was gonna unfold that day. I mean, I think that Shelly looked at me and said, "Do you know where you're gonna go?" I said, "No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I've never been on the run before. Come on." She's like, "Okay, get in."
It's like the good old days. Here we are talking about the good old days of running from the Democrats, and now you're
It's
fighting the
crazy.
Democrats.
It's crazy. And Raquel was with us at that too. So it was the four of us, you know.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Truth be told, it was the four of us. So
And Raquel got like really sick too, I think, if I
she
remember that.
did. She did. I'm pretty sure, yeah, she got pretty sick.
So in life, in your life, this is, and I've done a lot of like, I've tried doing this some deep dive. I couldn't find, you were born in Klamath Falls, but like, what did your parents do? Like, I couldn't really find that. I was looking to see, you still got some family in Madras too, I think.
I do. I do. I have family in Madras. I have family in Bonanza. I was born in Clement Falls. My parents were high school sweethearts, and they went to Merrill High School together, which is right outside Klamath. And, did the annual potato festival in Merrill every single year at my grandma's
Oh yeah.
house, and a dozen cousins. And my mom had four brothers, and just a big family. And so, yeah, great. I just have lots and lots of family here in Oregon and kind of across the state. But yeah, my mom had multiple sclerosis. I think I was 9 when she was diagnosed, but it was the kind of issue that just obviously affected her. It was unpredictable. Like one day she was okay, and then the next day she would have taken a fall. And it was just really kind of scary, you know what I mean? Just to not know whether or not she was going to be stable and she was okay. I know that she had the occasional part-time job where she took care of kids and things like that, but so she didn't really work. And my dad, uh, when I was young, worked in lumber mills, and I mean at that time there was a lumber mill in Chiloquin. Like
Yeah.
there was work.
Lots. Yeah, lots of lumber mills. Yeah.
Yeah, and they closed down, and you got to pivot. I think he was unemployed for multiple years in a row, just trying to figure it out, looking for work. And we eventually moved over the hill to the Medford area. And then he ended up working for, at that time, it was like Rogue Valley Hospital. And so more stable once we moved over to Medford
When did you move up to the Portland area?
for college. I went to college
Okay.
at George Fox and
Okay.
didn't come back home again after that for, to live or anything.
Because that's when you ran into Dan.
I actually, I I met Dan just after I graduated
Okay.
college. So yeah,
By
he
the
was
way,
he was at Lewis and
he's my
Clark.
favorite. He's my favorite person on your staff. So
Is
just
he your favorite
yeah.
Drazan?
Oh,
Be
I
honest.
you know that every time I'm in a room or something with you and Dan, him and I always end up just chit chatting. So
I love it.
I've and that's the one thing that you got in common with Governor Brown.
Oh my word.
So I'm gonna keep us moving here,
Thanks, Reagan.
which is that's my job.
Sorry. Yeah,
No,
go
you're
ahead.
fine. But I do want to ask. I think the first hurdle is the primary, the Republican primary, right? You'll have probably a couple opponents in there. Remains to be seen who all. But I think the first question primary voters are probably going to ask, or a reasonable question to ask, would be, why do this again? Why would you
Yeah.
run again? Or what's different this time? Right?
Yeah. Well, those are questions that I had to ask myself and decide before I ever got in. So I love it when that question gets up because it gives me the opportunity to talk to people about what's really at stake in this race and why I'm so determined to be a part of the solution here. So what's different is, first of all, things have gotten worse. And so the case for me to get involved the first time was there's an opportunity to be a part of leading our state in a better direction. I want to be a part of that. The case for running this time is Tina didn't learn her lesson from that close race last time. And what's different is that Oregonians themselves, their life improved, things got more expensive, housing hasn't gotten better, schools have gotten worse, certainly homelessness has gotten worse. It's just facts. Like these are just the facts. It's not personal. This isn't about, this isn't about a personality. This is about competence. And she's incredibly bad at being governor. And that is compelling. And I care about this state, every opportunity that I've had to step up and step forward to be a part of changing how this story ends. I've raised my hand and I said, I want to try. I want to be a part of that. I care. And this decision to run a second time is really to finish the, first of all, to finish what I started. But more than that, it's because this is a different race. I'm different. I have been through that first race and I have, like so many Oregonians, I've dusted myself off. I picked myself up. And when something got hard, I didn't run away. I didn't leave the state. I didn't change my party. I didn't change my positions. I didn't blame somebody else. I said, what happened? What can I do? What else can I do? Is there something else I can do to still make a difference? And I decided to run for my House seat again. And it's really for me, it's just in me. It's in my character to not give up. And I think that's a lot about how I was raised. And they were not easy times. And I don't care. I just keep going. It was very hard to make it through college. I paid my own way through college. I don't care. I just keep going. And the goal here is not about status. It's not about a position. The goal here is about impact. And it is changing the future of our state for the better. And that is such an important goal that you have to keep trying. And for me personally, I believe that I am prepared for this job in a way that other people just aren't, and that I have a level of experience that other people just don't have. And I think that matters. It's going to be complicated, it's going to be difficult. And I think it matters that someone that is competent is able to put their hand to the wheel and do the work. And that's really what this is about for me. Definitely there's an opportunity here. As you guys know, you talk about it all the time. Like you have to hold Tina accountable for what she said she would do and what she's actually done as governor. It's dramatically different than who she said she was going to be. She said she was going to be a governor for all of Oregon. She's only been a governor for the union bosses. She said she was going to fix our housing crisis. It's worse than it's been in a decade. She said she was going to tackle homelessness. We have a 67% increase in Multnomah County just in the time she's been governor. Like on every single metric that she set for herself, she's failed. So this is, to me, she doesn't deserve a second term. The state is in a worse position. They're desperate to have someone step in and be willing to work in service to the people of the state, not parties, not special interests, but the people of the state. And I am determined to be a part of that and determined to fight for the responsibility and, frankly, the privilege to take that on.
I can think of two other environmental factors that I think also make an argument for really for any Republican candidate, but that you can definitely make, which is one, yes, Tina had a record as speaker, but her name ID as speaker was still incredibly low. It was maybe double the average legislator, but still very low. And now she has high statewide name recognition. Her profile's up, obviously, as being governor for one term. The other thing is, it's probably not going to be a three-person race. No one's really expecting a third party candidate. No one's expecting Betsy Johnson or anybody else to run again as an independent. And so it will be a head to head race, almost certainly.
And that is an incredible opportunity. I mean, we all know that third party candidates tend to be spoilers for Republicans when they run center right. And in in a state like Oregon that's as purple as Oregon, I personally, 33% of the state's Democrats. You can't tell me that's blue. That's purple. The biggest party in our state's not affiliated. That's got to be purple. But if we do have third party candidates, it harms our ability to really compete. And so this time, that's an important part of this too. Is last time it was a bizarre bank shot where Tina ran away from Kate and Betsy ran against me, not really against Tina. And it was a very strange dynamic. And this time it's going to be two people. And it's going to be Tina needs to be held accountable for her record. And all she's going to do is run away from her record and try to change the subject.
Do you, speaking of 22, and I won't dwell on it, but do you think Betsy cost you the election?
I have looked at the data pretty extensively, and I would just say this. Betsy overperformed in counties that are Republican counties and swing counties, and she underperformed in the Portland metro area. And
Yeah.
I think that's meaningful.
Yeah, I think, and I've looked at the data too. I would say, I don't know if you would have won, but I think it would have been closer. But I also think it would have changed the dynamic because Vicky and I went to that debate you and Betsy and Tina had in Bend. Do you remember that one
Yeah.
at the
Oh yeah.
OSU
Yes.
campus, the OSU
Yeah.
campus, the new one? And, we all know how Betsy is as a person with a mic. She kind of dominates a conversation regardless of whether you like it or not. That's just who she is as a personality. I think head to head, I think like what Reagan was saying, like what you were talking about, I think the head to head really gives an opportunity to say what does a different direction look like for the state and what does the same direction look like for the state without having some of that third party stuff. And Reagan and I have talked about on crosstabs in previous episodes that Tina's really gone back to shore up her base to make sure she doesn't get a working families candidate in there. We know how much that really concerns Treasurer Steiner, to get somebody from the left flank on her. And then Reagan's really mentioned this, and I'm curious your thoughts. Reagan truly believes she doesn't like the job. She liked it better
Well,
when she was speaker.
yeah. I agree with Reagan on that one. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think that Speaker fit her well because that's hard power. She could literally yank chairmanships and just say no, right? And I think that's her sweet spot. I think as governor, it's soft power. You need to bring people together. You need to work with people. You need to lead with a vision, and people have to be willing to follow you. I just don't think that is her strength. I think it's literally her weakness is her interpersonal skills and her relationships. And that's I think that the fact that all she can do is veto and she's not going to veto her own party scrap. And so that just kind of leaves her pretty well neutered as governor. Unlike, as governor, I would hold them accountable. I would veto. I would, fire people. All those things are possible. I'm not beholden to the same special interests as the majority the way she is. And so she's hamstrung and she's just left with sweet talking people. And that's kind of not her thing.
No, no, she's definitely a deal maker, definitely a behind the scenes kind of, mover and shaker. At least, my interactions have always been that way with her. So I've always found that to be where she's more comfortable because Reagan and I many times have said that she either has bad staff that give her bad ideas or she doesn't listen to them. Because if she would just listen to us,
Yeah.
I don't think she would be beatable. Honestly, I mean, I think if she just did the things because she shouldn't be in Oregon. Sorry, she should. A Democrat should not be kind of challengeable, right? But for some reason, we always seem like we're 3 to 5 points behind. And that just, you don't see that in Washington, you don't see that in California. But for some reason in Oregon, we always, and I don't know if it was the Republicans overshoot our base or we overshoot that or we're just different or if the Democrats always underperform. I'm not really sure what the answer is there, but I'm just kind of curious that in 26 it'll be very interesting with she's going to make it about Trump MAGA, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you want to be Trump MAGA and she's going to try to deflect probably a poor record. I think everybody can probably say it's a pretty poor record. So I don't what's your take on that? Like how do you because we're already seeing it, right? Christine's going to bring the MAGA, agenda to Oregon, right? So how do
I
you
think that's
counter that?
isn't that all she's got? I mean, I don't know what are you I mean, do you guys see something that I'm missing? I feel like her only shot at reelection is to point to Trump and have she wants to fixate on Trump. She wants other people to fixate on Trump, and she wants to run against Trump. She knows she can beat a guy that is unpopular with non-affiliated voters, and she knows she can't win if it's just about her record. I feel like the only thing that she's got is to spend all of her time and money talking about President Trump. And I think that, getting this race back down to kitchen table issues, stuff that affects us every day, keeping it focused on Oregon, she loses. And she knows that.
Well, she did appoint a prospect czar. I don't even know what she appointed with the business
Prosperity czar, yeah.
prosperity czar, whatever the heck that is.
I
Another
said I
SEIU
said
position.
today I said today to somebody that just sounds like we live in a communist state where the economy is failing and they had to appoint somebody in charge of turning around the ship because it's just you shouldn't need that. I don't understand how we got to that point. How they were but I think it's because Republicans have been saying for a long time that we haven't been doing anything for business, that we're hurting business, that we're adding to the list of the things they need to do, the regulations, the taxes, and Democrats were like, "No, it's fine." And then the bottom started to fall out and now they don't know what to do.
Well, I think that she's in an election year. And when I talk about what I want to do as governor, I'm really, really clear with why I'm doing this. And it is to be incredibly ambitious for the future of our state. I want to be the best place in the nation to raise your family, start a business, grow a business, get a world-class education. And she is running on same old, same old. We got to fix housing. And she pivots to housing with every single question. And what Oregonians want right now is somebody that isn't going to impose a gas tax on them. And that's her. Like all she wants is more taxes and more taxes, and government's going to solve the problem. I think that she's listening a little bit. I assume she's got polling. I assume she's listening to, what her opponents are saying. But I'm saying every single time that I talk to anybody, we have got to be ambitious for the future of our state. It's possible for this state to once again be the best place in the nation, to come and raise your family and start a business and grow a business. And so the fact that she's woken up one day and said, I'm going to listen to the Oregon Business Council or whoever, gave her a plan. And I'm now going to start talking about the economy and the importance of the economy. That's nothing but a spin because she's had 3 years to care about the economy. It's done nothing but go backwards. We've lost 25,000 jobs in 1 year. How is that even possible? And somehow on her watch between, July of 24 and June of this year, we've lost about 25,000 jobs and counting.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. That
Yeah.
is terrible and shocking. And we're all going to feel that. And families that don't have jobs, they got to make hard choices. And our family's been there. I've been there. And that is difficult. And so that is, it makes more families unstable. It makes quality of life here worse. And you throw on top of that like tough education outcomes and addiction skyrocketing and homelessness that's not fixed. Like there's not a metric that she could possibly point to and say, as leader, as governor of this beautiful place, I've made it better. She just can't. So I just think that whole prosperity thing where she's suddenly decided to care about the economy or about how we're doing, I think that's just election year spin.
So
Totally.
do you think, oh, sorry, Brian,
No,
did
no.
you have a
I was
question?
just agreeing.
So I think that like I think your argument on Tina's record is very strong. I do think though that like one of the things Republicans are missing, and this is kind of where my next question goes. I think there's not a lot of visibility into what we propose at the legislature. We know about it. We try to run press releases about it. Occasionally, we get some coverage on some of the big ticket items, but for the most part, our bills are ignored and not covered. So I think what generates excitement for voters is that day one, the idea of okay, day one, you're in the governor's office. It's the first day in 30 plus years we've had a Republican in that office. What are you going to do? What's two things you're going to do
Mhm.
on day one? Like something concrete that
Yeah.
voters I think would get energized about.
Yeah, I absolutely am over the moon excited to tear up her executive orders on two things, right? She's got the climate protection plan, which is just a bunch of hooey that's intended to further put manufacturing out of business in the state of Oregon. And and she's got her, Green New Deal nonsense that she's advancing. And those have got to go away. Those are both executive orders. And the governor has imposed them while at the same time she's talking about the economy. She's put these executive orders in place that are going to do nothing but make it harder to have businesses in our state and take jobs away from our state. So those go away day one. I'm also going to have a moratorium on rulemaking on day one. We have got to stop just suffocating our folks that are job creators in our state with administrative burden that just they can't deal with. But as superintendent of public instruction, I'm going to restore graduation requirements, and I am going to issue an executive order to ensure that we can take disruptive kids out of the classroom and that we will be able to restore order in the classroom so teachers are safe and students can learn. And there is so much opportunity to go from there and fire incompetent bureaucrats and to begin to offer a budget that refocuses back on the priorities that Oregonians care about. So we're talking about a budget for the state that would get back to core functions and no more nonsense where we're not paying for somebody's political agenda. We're paying to fill potholes. I'll get more money back into the classroom and not spend it on bureaucracy. Talk about bureaucratic bloat. The Department of Education has got to be hobbled compared to where it is today. I mean, they are shoving so much administrative nonsense down the throats of schools where now you see that there are fewer and fewer teachers in the classroom and more administrators and more people that just exist to file reports with the Department of Education. We've got to give them regulatory relief too because it's impacting our teachers' ability to do their jobs and to keep class sizes small and make sure kids learn. So there's no doubt that on day one, you're going to see a dramatic change in the state of Oregon and that we are going to have the opportunity to be able to right the ship. And you also have to continue to like move from there and say, there's also the chance to actually appoint judges that are not political appointees, but are
Hmm.
there to just enforce the law and uphold the Constitution for the first time in 40 years. Like, there's so many opportunities from day one to begin to turn this thing around. And I absolutely will maintain the emergency, the homeless emergency that Tina has put in place. But here's the thing, I will use it to actually get homeless the care that they need, the help that they need if they are facing addiction, and ensure that those that refuse that care are not kept on our streets. And Tina hasn't done that. She hasn't treated it like a real emergency. She issued the emergency order and then she just sat back and watched things continue to decline. That emergency order is an extraordinary power to coordinate among all levels of government and to take money and agencies and bring them to bear to address this problem, and she hasn't done that.
I thought in 22 that one of the most interesting outcomes of a Republican governor and at any time would be the just because what I suspect will happen, and I don't think that this is right, but what I suspect is happen is if a Republican is elected governor in this state, there will literally be an all-out war inside of the state government against like the executive office.
All out war.
There will be some departments that are just like absolutely not interested in listening to what the governor has to say. And I think that that creates some super interesting opportunities. But so I went back and pulled it up. Executive Order 2004 is Governor Brown because the all the executive orders for the governor have the year first, 20. So like all the executive orders Kotek's doing right now have the number 25 in front of them. And then it was the fourth executive order of that year. So Executive Order 2004 is repealed is one of the first actions of a Drazan administration.
Yep,
I think that's pretty good.
yep.
Plus, could you imagine how Melissa Unger would blow her mind at SEIU if you were actually elected governor? She would freak out. Like they would all, I don't know, would they strike and then get their unemployment benefits? Like, is that what would happen? Like, I don't know
Uh,
what would happen. You know?
can you strike if you're not in budget, if you're not in negotiations? I don't know. What is that?
Who
Yeah.
I guess at that point it's called walking off the job and maybe they get fired.
Yeah.
I think you would have a real negotiation for the first time between public sector employees and management because the public sector employees have been negotiating with people that they have helped elect for decades. I think that's also that would also be different for them in a good way.
Which is wild too, because if you win in 26 in November, you have to have a budget ready to go before you're even sworn in. It's a
Right.
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
crazy process of 60 days where you have to show up with a budget, before you're even the governor. It's like it's
yeah.
the oddest thing in the world.
But that actually is why experience matters. That's why experience matters. Like this idea that we're gonna, like inflate resumes and act like people that aren't prepared for this job or ready to do the job is complete nonsense.
So I think, and I mean, I've seen other candidates mention that they think that they claim some that they're saying I have executive experience. The other candidates in this race don't have executive experience, and that legislators talk, but executives do action. Do you have? I've noticed you've been maybe pointing that direction a little bit. Is that your view, or do you have a different view?
Are we talking about Daniel Bethel? Let's just be real.
We are. She has posted some
Well,
things on Facebook.
there just isn't anyone running that is more prepared to actually do the job than I am. There just isn't.
Yeah, you had I looked at this. You had 19 candidates in the 2022 primary.
Yeah.
19, which is just wild. So,
And
uh,
I think like five of us spent $1 million or more. So even
yeah,
if you say a lot of those folks, weren't actively campaigning, a whole bunch of us were. It was just a very wild primary.
it seemed like it. Do you feel this one's a little like you're not? I mean, I think we're still gonna have six or seven kind of, unknowns that have already filed, right? I think David Birch and some of the other folks that have already filed again. Um, I didn't even realize Court Boyce ran for governor. Did you know that?
What? I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Who's now state representative. But at the time, like I just think now it seems like, depending on what Dudley does, we're not sure. I think maybe everybody was talking about him maybe announcing today, and then then Governor Kotek announced, which I thought was pretty interesting. I just feel like this primary, though, it's really going to be different because I've been saying this for a while. I think I've been quoted in some of the papers with some of the reporters because I've always just said I think Republicans are really they want somebody, and I think you can make this case and others can maybe make this case, but we there's so much you can do as governor to change the state. Like you talked about day one. I don't even know how you got through day one with all the things you want to do on day one. I feel like you're working till about 1 or 2 in the morning at that point.
It's totally worth it. Totally worth it.
But I think like this primary really has to be about the base of all Oregonians, not just, Republicans, but
Yeah.
everybody who wants to see a difference to finally just say, okay, Christine's our person or whoever it may be, right? If you fall short of it, then I hope we all get on board of whoever wins. At this point I would consider you the front runner of who's filed. And I think that that's really where we're at. But I would say, like, how do you see winning a primary and making that? Because I feel like coming out of the 2022, there was a little, you were hobbled a little bit because there was no real, like, clear winner. I mean, you obviously, you won by 5 points, I think, in the primary, but I'm just I'm just hoping that, let's say, if you clear the field and you win by 20, 30 points, like, how do we keep the base moving forward and say, I'm your person, I'm let's go, let's all make it happen because we got to get to 50%. I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how we get there.
Well, the race is about the people of this state. The only way we ever get change is the same way that we're getting the gas tax on the ballot. Oregonians, I don't care what party they are, Oregonians have to decide that doing the same thing again and again isn't going to give us a different result. And they got to be willing to consider doing something different than what they've done in the past. And that's not a party issue. That's not Republicans versus Democrats. This is the vision for the state. This is what we've been getting for the person that's currently in that seat. Do we want more of the same? Because she's not going to become a different person if she gets elected to a different term. So if Oregonians decide, hey, this is all great, we like this, okay, then that's the direction we'll go. But I really sincerely believe, or I wouldn't be in this race, that Oregonians are ready to get actual results and they're ready to see actual change that serves them. Not just change for change's sake, not just have a Republican because of the party. Absolutely not. But change to improve schools for your kids so your kids are safer in their schools. Change to make sure that there's a job when your kid gets out of college or there's a job to go to. Change so that when you are ready to buy a house, that you can actually get one before you're 40. The kind of change where you can safely enjoy our urban core and go to downtown Portland and you feel safe walking in those streets. Like that is none of that stuff is partisan. None of that stuff is third rail of Oregon politics or whatever. That's just what does it feel like to live here and do we want better? And that's how we get there. I mean, when there's no way those Democrats believed that Oregonians were going to voluntarily stand out in the rain and collect signatures to get the gas tax on the ballot, but they did it. And none of those Democrats believed for one hot second that that was going to happen without paid signature gatherers. They dramatically underestimated Oregonians themselves. And I think that's the only way this thing happens. Like
Yeah,
it's,
we
there's tactics and there's political types like you guys talk about strategy. But the reality is Oregonians have to want more than what they're getting. The election's their opportunity to say so.
I didn't. I frankly, I thought it was definitely possible, but I didn't think it would happen this fast. I mean, this is something no one's ever really seen before, and I think that it's going to force Democrats, and Brian and I have said this for a long time. They keep choosing to go it alone on this stuff, and they keep facing the consequences of that. And I appreciate that Oregonians finally gave us a backstop and said, "That's it. Yeah, we draw the line." Like you guys need to go figure it out, and it needs to be bipartisan. That's the message. The real question is are Democrats going to get the message?
And I think the beautiful thing about the fact it's going to be on the ballot is they can't fake it like it didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like they can't gaslight Oregonians and say, well, you know, that was really just, that was just really an anomaly. Nope.
yeah.
It's a repudiation of your leadership. They said no.
Well, they'll try to drown us out and call us MAGA. I think is really but Donald Trump has kept gaining. I mean, if you look at his 2016, 2020, and 2024, he's just keeps doing better in the state of Oregon. At least if you look at it like statewide, and I just think that they can keep pushing that stuff. At some point, voters get wise to the ruse. And
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's kind of, I'm hoping, I don't want to say I think, I'm hoping that the gas tax is a very clear example of Oregonians finally saying, oh, wait, what? We can actually just sign a referral, and now we have a mechanism in which if we don't like anything in the legislature, and you're a legislative brat like the rest of us here, now like legislative referrals haven't been the norm, but all of a sudden we now have a pretty decent group of people that we can go back to for 78,000 signatures to say, oh, sorry, we couldn't stop the tax, but we're going to go ahead and just refer it. And I think there's people that show up and they realize, hey, for 2, 3, 4 minutes it takes me to sign a referral, we can actually stop the crazy stuff. And because it all comes down to cost of living, I think that's what we're living in right now. Like
yeah.
everybody cares. I know you're big on education. I think that part's super huge. What's the platform? Because I think, I know we talked about agency stuff, but I really believe this election is going to be how do you stop or curb just the cost of living every day? We say cost of living and it's like in a vacuum, but the gas tax, I think, is a very easy thing for people to look at and say, I don't want to pay more for my gas. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, as a state government, like what can you do or what will you do to really help drive that just day-to-day cost of living down?
Well, it's actually there's a lot of very clear, direct ways right now that the policies that have been adopted by Kate Brown and Tina Kotek specifically have increased cost of living. So we have this, wonky thing called the clean fuel standard. Well, right now that is driving the price of gas in Oregon. So again, I would put a moratorium on any increases in the clean fuel standard. Every single time that thing gets fully implemented or gets closer to full implementation, it adds cost at the pump. It's not a tax, it's just a cost of doing business, and we're all paying it. And so, if you can control the cost of energy, if you can take some of the mandates out that are driving the cost of our utility bills up through the roof, if you can take away some of the mandates that we've got out there that are making energy in our state more and more and more expensive, then we have the opportunity to lower the cost of living. Like we have right now this crazy approach to energy in Oregon, and I think it's one of the biggest drivers of cost in our state, unique to us, where no source of energy that's cheap, that's affordable and reliable is good enough for folks, and all they want is wind and solar. That is expensive. We can't walk away from natural gas. We cannot say that nothing is good enough for us, and and that dams aren't good, and we want to take away the dams, and we don't want to have hydropower, and we don't want to have natural gas. That's crazy. It's expensive. We need to have an economy. We need to have homes that can turn on the heat and be able to afford to turn on the heat. You shouldn't mandate people away from natural gas. I mean, the electric grid can't support the move. So there are absolutely policy choices that we can make as a state moving forward together that can control the cost of living within our state. They just haven't done it. They have been willfully allowing everything to get more expensive. And even if you just look at insurance, I don't know if you guys are right now, I think you guys aren't shopping for insurance because you're legislative guys. But if you were
Oh no.
shopping for insurance right now, are you shopping?
Oh yeah. Well, no, I have a broker and because I got a ranch, so I live in the private world too. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy. I just got like the breakdown, and I was talking to my husband about the numbers, at his work, and for somebody that works for him today to be able to pay their portion of their insurance, 50% of the average income in Portland would go toward covering their portion just to have a full PPO insurance plan. How's that possible? I mean, people in Portland, I think the average income's like 95,000 or something. You'd spend 50% of that just to cover your monthly insurance costs for out-of-pocket costs in the private sector. That's with an employer paying for part of the cost. That's how much it's gone up. These things where we're mandating more and more and more things on insurance in our state is unique to us. These things where we're taking away options for energy and we're forcing everybody to go into products that are more expensive, that's unique to us. These are policy choices that have been made that we can change. And I don't know how else to look at it, but to say, folks, this didn't happen by accident. We're here, but it's got to change.
Yeah, I had my farm policy has doubled since
Uh,
since Golden and Kotex wildfire maps have passed. So and that's just like right, that's just property insurance. That's like that sort of like car insurance, like all my not even the health insurance you're talking about. So the cost of living, I think you're right on the whole energy side of things because people see that, and it's so funny to me because they want solar like it's no tomorrow, like it's the panacea of everything. And then they want to not have natural gas and they just want you to do electricity, which comes from Pacific Power, PG, who they buy from coal-fired plants, in
yep,
Wyoming,
yep.
which is not like if you really were true a green energy agenda, hydro is the most green energy and effective power that we have that runs 24 hours a day, 365 that you can rely on. And they just hate it
They
all
hate it.
for an agenda. It's not, I'm fine with solar. I think there's a play for solar on some level, but you can't just get rid of everything else. We need to have every energy potential that we can possibly get to drive ultimately the cost down because options create price incentives that create, that drives down the cost of energy. And I think that the executive orders, you're probably right. Like with the gas, especially, you would literally cut, what do you think, $1 probably a gallon just by
I
cutting.
don't, well, I think that you can, first of all, you can stop the bleeding, right? By just saying no more. And I do believe you can go backwards. I don't think it's a full dollar,
Okay.
but it's certainly considerable. But here's the other thing: is I'm with you. I'm an all-in kind of person. Like, let's do solar, let's do wind, let's do all of it. But don't ban stuff. Don't take stuff off the list.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna do solar, if you're gonna do all those things, you need storage. Like, if you're gonna be serious about this, it needs to be reliable. So we've got to get to that innovative part of this where storage is more readily available, more accessible, and that we can, in fact, depend on that energy source and it'll be more consistent. And I just don't think we're there yet. And if we're not fully there yet, we can't cut off our nose to spite our face.
I think one of the other things too that's critical, and you talked about it before, is the soft power sort of thing where the governor gets to appoint people to boards and commissions. She can appoint some direct agency heads, but some of them are appointed by those boards and commissions. And so I think that leads to a situation where again you are contingent on somebody else to make a decision and make the right call, weigh that evidence along with you. Is there somebody you have in your mind for a key agency position that you're like day one, if I can appoint anybody I want, if the Senate is signing off, somebody that you want to put in a key role in one of the agencies that you think would also do a really good job? And is there somebody in your mind that Oregonians know?
Wait. Brian Iverson for Business
I
Org.
was gonna say, are you guys applying right now? Is that what this is? Is this a job interview, Reagan?
No, well,
Reagan
first of
doesn't want
all,
a position. No. He's cheap. He's got a role to work to manage Vicky, and he's fine.
He's busy. You're busy. No,
Plenty.
I think the thing about the boards and commissions as well, and I should probably mention this too, we have too many of them. And
Agreed.
I I actually think that we need to eliminate some of the boards and commissions that exist out there right now, and that we have too many, and they have too much power today. And I actually think that some of our boards and commissions have actually stepped on the legislative branch quite a bit, and that they have stepped into this role where it feels like they're legislating. I mean, if we just talk, clean trucks, right? Like you can't tell me that that process didn't wasn't in fact a legislative process, and that they were screwing around with our economy, and that was well beyond what people would expect a board and commission would have responsibility for. So I think that they're also a little bit over the top and out of control, and that we need to take a hard look at which one of those boards and commissions we should eliminate. And I absolutely think that that's part of how government's gotten out of control in Oregon.
So I guess I'm not going to be the Business Oregon director. Uh,
I appreciate the interest, guys.
I'll
Really,
slip my resume over. Yeah.
slide it under the door.
No. Because I think Reagan's what he's kind of hitting on is like what we need. I believe we need powerhouses, man. I mean,
Yeah.
we need people that not only are covering your agenda as governor.
Well, here's the thing, and I absolutely agree with what you're saying that these agencies have processes that cut people out and then they move ahead regardless of input. Like it's a mess. But also, I'm in a primary. I need to get to the primary. I need to win the primary, and then I need to fight the battle in the general. Like I'm just first things first. I just have my, head down doing the job that's right in front of me right now. And I just think that it would also be problematic if what I was really doing right now is measuring the drapes. Like I have to do this. I have to ask Oregonians for their support, and I have to make the case for why I am the best person to do this job, and I have to, pursue the opportunity to get the work. And that's really just the thing I'm focused on right now, guys.
All right, I was going to ask you if you were going to move into the governor's mansion, but apparently you're not measuring the drapes yet.
I'm not measuring the drapes yet. I got some work to do.
Will you take vacations to Astoria for a special session?
I can tell you that if the legislative body is working, I'm working.
That's good. Yeah, no, it's kind of fun. Will Dan move into the mansion with you?
Well, we are still going to be married after this, so I would hope that where I
That's
live, he
good.
lives. Where he lives, I live.
He won't have staff or anything. You're not going to try to find him a
I
job.
I don't think he's looking for work.
He's a good lawyer. He knows what he's doing. Thank you for coming on. Reagan, do you have any more last hits you want to hit her with or
No, I think we did pretty good. I mean, I think there's, if there's big issues that come up in the future, we'll definitely have you back as the race develops. But appreciate you taking the time out of what it sounds like is already a pretty busy schedule, and it is not even yet 2026.
You guys, I am serious as a heart attack about this thing, so I don't take things for granted. And this is a privilege to be a part of this, and I'm gonna get out there and make the case.
I'm very concerned, and I'll let Reagan kind of sign off on it. I'm super concerned about the Trump effect and how a second term, I'd hate for us to be a 2018 scenario. I don't think you have that baggage of a 2018. I don't think Trump does, but those are probably my concerns. But I think we can deal with that shit over the summer and kind of see what it looks like. It's really just how do we get through the primary first?
Yeah, Brian, I think that the key point that you made there ultimately is like we think we know what's going to happen. We think that this is the second term, but also, as with everything with Trump, it's Trump, and so it's different. And so, just because this is a second term, there first of all, it's a non-consecutive second term midterm, which may have an impact. I think that Republicans are adjusting, we'll say it nicely, at the federal level, working to adjust for the upcoming midterms. And if anything positive comes out of that, I think you could see really good effects for us down ballot, which includes governor and legislature and all those sorts of things. So I think that, I think it's also one of those situations where Democrats could feel really good about an election and believe they have a wave, and then it turns out to be much more of a dogfight, very similar to us in 2022, where we thought we had the wind at our back, and then it turned out to be a dogfight all the way down. And if we get in one of those situations, we should win some races that we're not always supposed to, and we're never supposed to win the governor's race in Oregon, according to the pundits, according to the Democrats. But we saw with the tax situation and how fast those signatures were caught, were gathered that Oregonians still have the ability to surprise Democrats, the establishment, and the folks that are out there that are going to say that this is a safe Democrat seat or whatever. So I think that opportunity still exists, and we can be ready to capitalize on it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And we all know that top a ticket helps down ballot too. And
Yes.
the ability to work together and the ability to really focus on get out the vote and some of those, really fundamentals of communicating with voters and, making the pitch. And I'm looking forward to that work.
I think at the end of the day, we are still fighting the fact that we as Oregonians want somebody at the top of the ticket, want somebody who's governor who's looking out for Oregonians first.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree. Couldn't agree more. Well, thank
thank
you guys
you.
for the time. It's been fun. Look forward to our next chat.
We'll do it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, bye.
Good night.
They cut back. You're right. No, totally. That's it. And we've talked about this. If anybody wants to submit their name to be our third, to really fill out the lineup, hit us up. We're interested.
Oh,
Can't promise anything.
you are. I'm not, but I don't
You're
know.
the literal. You've literally told me a third person would
I'm
be
just
good on
kidding.
this show.
I'm
You're such a
kidding. I'm
pill.
kidding. No,
You're
no,
such a pill.
no.
No, I think it was a good interview. I liked that she gave us something concrete on executive orders, repealing climate protection. That's huge.
Yeah.
I think that obviously I think the business community is excited about that. Anybody who knows what that is understands. I think what was fun though to talk about, obviously it's going to be a big challenge for whoever gets the nomination. It's not a cakewalk race. I don't even think most people necessarily think it's a toss up, but it's an opportunity, like she said. But it is fun to play around with. So what do you do when you actually get there? Because at that point, what does the governing actually look like? And I do think that that's a piece of it. I mean, I saw a post today that said, Democrats are corrupt and inept, and Republicans can't show and prove that they are interested in governing. And I think that was pointed at some at the walkouts and some at other stuff. But I
Yeah.
think like showing Oregonians how we would govern is the key to getting back in charge. And so we just have to take that directly to them because the media really doesn't give us a lot of opportunity except for on some of the really big issues like on gas tax they did cover the alternative proposals, and I think maybe when Oregonians saw those they went, oh, no new taxes, yes. And so that's part of this whole thing, and so we just need to find more ways to break through on that front, and I think help people recognize we're not even trying to govern to the right. We're just trying to govern to the center at this point.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much like that's where we're at. No governor in Oregon is going to last very long if they govern hard right. And there was nothing about what I heard from Drazan that sounded hard right to me. It all sounded like let's get back to Oregon of 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And that's what most people want. And so we drive that home, we'll do great. If we spend a lot of time on ice and other stuff that's kind of, it matters, but it is not core to state government, we'll get lost and we will get stuck in some of this stuff that doesn't help us.
Yeah. No. Well said. Well said, brother. I'll let it go at that. I think good conversation. More to come. Like she said, she's got to win a primary.
I would say that I came into this episode, and I always try to be, respectful to our guests and give them an opportunity to share their perspective. I didn't necessarily come into this thinking a Drazan rerun is a good idea, and she definitely made me think it is actually like a doable thing. And I think that that's she made a pretty good case tonight. And so I think that
Ah,
that if that is what she is day in and day out on the campaign trail, she'll probably win the primary. And if that's the message she has the opportunity to deliver voters, it remains to be seen. And I haven't necessarily, I didn't get to. I think I missed the first Danielle interview, so it'll be good to have her back,
it,
and talk to her. And then if Dudley gets in, it'll be good to talk to him and just kind of get a sense of what are their arguments, right? And I think between the three of them, I think it's unlikely another maybe Bob Tiernan gets in right at the end again just
nah,
for the kicks. But I think that's kind of basically the three potentials we've got right now. Sonen's kind of there on the
that's it.
outskirts, but yeah,
I think that's it. The only one, and I said this earlier, the only one that could hop into this Republican primary, I think, and derail it between those three you just talked about. But I think if Daniel Bethel, obviously Chris Dudley, Christine Drazan, the only one that can get into this race and upend it is Ed Deal. His work on the gas tax.
thought you were gonna say Walden. I was like, Walden clears the field if he powers up again. I don't think anyone expects him to. I'm just saying.
Greg clearly told me and many people when he left in 2020 or 2018 was his last election. He was never running again.
Uh,
I think I will believe him when he says that.
yeah.
And I think that the only one that I think that could upend any of this stuff is that deal. And only because he's riding high off of the gas tax stuff. I don't think he does, but he's the only one that I think could come in there and upset the apple cart between it being a three-person race. I think if you give me the three of them, it depends on how much money they raise, depends on the endorsements that they get, all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
I love having a debate. The Democrats have zero debate. You basically get Tina. Good luck. And then, there's not all the other candidates and stuff that we talked about. There's really not a whole bunch. And I think that's actually hurts the Democrats a little bit that there's not any sort of robust debate to be had in the May primary.
They're all of their candidates are just basically incumbents, right? They
Yeah.
they they picked up a lot of their stuff back at the last cycle, so they have a lot of incumbents to run. So it's
Yeah.
basically take your medicine time for Democrats. So we hope you like your Tina Kotek for governor medicine because you're taking it.
All
All
right.
right, listeners, thank you so much.